we had a tough day, and actually I was really grateful to be coming back and to be doing this evening, even if it is 12:30. Lots of bureaucracy and numbers and figures and crazy stuff. But we're going to come back to the Tao of Pooh and the Tale of Piglet by Benjamin Hoff. You can't wriggle, otherwise the camera goes funny. For your evening enjoyment. It's hard to be brave, said Piglet, sniffing slightly, when you're only a very small animal. Rabbit, who had begun to write very busily, looked up and said, "It is because you are a very small animal that you will be useful in the adventure before us." Piglet was so excited at the idea of being useful that he forgot to be frightened anymore. And when Rabbit went on to say that kangaroos were only fierce during the winter months, being at other times of an affectionate disposition, he could hardly sit still. He was so eager to begin being useful at once. "What about me?" said Pooh sadly. "Suppose I shan't be useful?" "Oh, never mind, Pooh," said Piglet comfortingly. "Another time, perhaps." "Without Pooh," said Rabbit solemnly as he sharpened his pencil, "the adventure would be impossible." "Oh?" said Piglet, and tried not to look disappointed, but Pooh went into a corner of the room and said proudly to himself, "Impossible without me, that sort of bear." No matter how useful we may be, sometimes it can take us a while to recognize our own value. This can be illustrated by the Chinese story of the stonecutter. There was once a stonecutter who was dissatisfied with himself and his position in life. One day, he passed a wealthy merchant's house and through the open gateway saw many fine possessions and important visitors. "How powerful that merchant must be," thought the stonecutter. He became very envious and wished that he could be like the merchant. Then he would no longer have to live the life of a mere stonecutter. To his great surprise, he suddenly became the merchant, enjoying more luxuries and power than he had ever dreamed of, envied and detested by those less wealthy than himself. But soon a high official passed by, carried in a sedan chair, accompanied by attendants and escorted by soldiers beating gongs. Everybody, no matter how wealthy, had to bow low before the procession. "How powerful that official is," he thought. "I wish I could be a high official." Then he became the high official, carried everywhere in his embroidered sedan chair, feared and hated by the people all around him, who had to bow down before him as he passed. It was a hot summer day, and the official felt very uncomfortable in the sticky sedan chair. He looked up at the sun. It shone proudly in the sky, unaffected by his presence. "How powerful the sun is," he thought. "I wish I could be that sun." Then he became the sun, shining fiercely down on everyone, scorching the fields, cursed by the farmers and laborers. But a huge black cloud moved between him and the earth, so that his light could no longer shine on everything below. "How powerful that storm cloud is," he thought. "I wish I could be a cloud." Then he became the cloud, flooding the fields and villages, shouted at by everyone. But soon he found that he was being pushed away by some great force and realized that it was the wind. How powerful it is, he thought. I wish that I could be the wind. Then he became the wind, blowing tiles off the roofs of houses, uprooting trees, hated and feared by all below him. But after a while, he ran up against something that would not move, no matter how forcefully he blew against it. A huge, towering stone. How powerful that stone is, he thought. I wish I could be a stone. Then he became the stone, more powerful than anything else on earth. But as he stood there, he heard the sound of a hammer pounding a chisel into the solid rock and felt himself being changed. What could be more powerful than I, the stone, he thought. He looked down and saw far below him the figure of a stone cutter. In order to take control of our lives and accomplish something of lasting value, sooner or later we need to learn to believe. We don't need to shift our responsibilities onto the shoulders of some deified spiritual Superman, or sit around and wait for fate to come knocking at the door. We simply need to believe in the power that's within us and use it. When we do that and stop imitating others and competing against them, things begin to work for us. The play-it-safe pessimists of the world never accomplish much of anything because they don't look clearly and objectively at situations. They don't recognize or believe in their own abilities, and they won't stretch those abilities to overcome even the smallest amount of risk. For example, when Roo fell into the stream during the famous expedition to find the North Pole, what did dismal Eeyore do about it? Long after Roo had been carried away by the current, Eeyore half-heartedly hung his tail over the water so that Roo could grab hold of it and pull himself out, or more accurately, so that Eeyore would get credit for having tried something. Of course, he didn't really expect it to do any good, and of course it didn't. Who was going to rescue Roo? Panicky Piglet was jumping up and down and making noises. Ineffective Owl was instructing Roo to keep his head above water. Concerned Kanga was asking if he was all right. Captain Rabbit was calling out commands, but positive Pooh was looking at the situation and seeing what he could do about it and trying something. 2 pools below Roo, he was standing with a long pole in his paws, and Kanga came up and took one end of it, and between them they held it across the lower part of the pool. And Roo, still bubbling proudly, "Look at me swimming," drifted up against it and climbed out. "Did you see me swimming?" squeaked Roo excitedly, while Kanga scolded him and rubbed him down. "Pooh, Pooh, did you see me swimming? That's called swimming, what I was doing. Rabbit, did you see what I was doing? Swimming! Hello, Piglet, I say Piglet. What do you think I was doing? Swimming. Christopher Robin, did you see me?" But Christopher Robin wasn't listening. He was looking at Pooh. "Pooh," he said, "where did you find that pole?" Pooh looked at the pole in his hands. I just found it," he said. "I thought it ought to be useful. I just picked it up." "Pooh," said Christopher Robin, "the expedition is over. You have found the North Pole." As Pooh found out with the North Pole, once we see what the situation is and what we can do about it, We need to utilize everything we find along the way in order to accomplish whatever is required. More often than not, the things we need are already there. All we have to do is make use of them. Did you fall asleep?
Bits.
Yes. I hope that was good. I think that was a really good extract.
Guess.
You don't know. You didn't what? See you tomorrow. Mwah.